in the mirror, pulling up the sleeve of his garish Christmas jumper to reveal his flexed muscle. "I can carry the suitcases," he proclaimed. "I'm a fine figure of a man." "You're not to let the gentleman stick around. Do you hear me? He's not to darken the door." Steph's chubby hand began clenching and flexing again, making me feel shabby for having snapped. The doorbell rang for a second time. Vincent Roper had obviously become impatient in his old age. "You'd be doing me a good turn," I said, trying to sound calm, "if you'd tell him that I'm not to be disturbed." As Steph and Len toddled off, I had to sit down. The barber-shop band started up an impromptu rehearsal in our lounge, so I waited there in the honeysuckle room for what felt like an age, unable to make out a word from downstairs. I kept my eyes trained on our front path, jumping each time the bass's voice rang out the high notes in their rendition of Auld Lang Syne, and I girded myself all the while for Vincent Roper's knock on the bedroom door. That memory crashed over me again. It was your elfin face that I saw, Edie, a face that, God forgive me, had managed to block out for some time. The suitcase out in the shed contained a photograph of me dangling you over the sea, capturing a time before you grew fearful of water. You looked about 5 in that picture, but judging from my height, we must have been at least 10. When I saw Vincent Roper heading out of Seaview Lodge, his body braced against the storm, my own body seemed to collapse, sweat springing to my palms, my pulse rushing to my ears, a sigh escaping from my lungs, as if everything had held itself taut until I was sure that Vincent Roper had left Seaview Lodge once more. "Dear Maeve, forgive me for showing up unannounced, but ever since I learnt of Frank's death you've been very much on my mind. How wonderful to find Seaview Lodge unchanged, and still going strong, with you still at the helm," I returned, I must admit, with some trepidation. "I've taken the liberty of booking in for a week. Steph has kindly allowed me to leave my case, although she tells me that check-in isn't until 4. I'll head into town for a mosey around, and perhaps catch Mass at St. Mary's. I'll keep out of your way until early evening, but I look forward to seeing you later, with all good wishes from your old friend, Vince." The wind thrashed about my face and billowed through my coat, but I forced myself out of Seaview Lodge. Vincent Roper was only by the Alhambra. I'd catch up with him in no time. The lead singer from Aspie Fella a Cappella followed me onto the doorstep. "Excuse me, Maeve," he said in that robotic voice of his. "Forgive me for keeping you." "I'm sorry, my dear," I called over my shoulder as I made my way down the front path. "We'll chat when I get back." Although Vincent Roper needed a stick, he was going great guns up Marine Road West. I couldn't afford to lose track of him now. By the time I reached the promenade, he'd almost got to the bowling alley, and he increased his lead with every step. Who would have guessed that he'd end up the fittest survivor of our class? My own strides must have been fueled by fury, because I wouldn't usually have been capable of such unexpected exertion. I'd already climbed up and down the stairs like a yo-yo today, 33 steps each way. I'd already hauled 5 quilts and 7 blankets out of our airing cupboard. Vincent Roper paused by the Midland Hotel, which was all trussed up with Christmas lights. On the odd occasion I left Seaview Lodge, I always passed by the Midland. But today an image of our outfit sneaked up on me. My ocean blue dress and your peachy blouse, the silk underwear from Woods, that brooch studded with mermaid-coloured gems. The memory powered my stampede until I got waylaid by the chap from the coffee pot who was pushing a twin buggy along the prom. "Good morning, Miss Maloney," he said. "It's nice to see you getting out and about." Unlike some of our neighbours, he was a decent sort, but I would have to give him short shrift. I was almost within shouting distance of Vincent Roper now. "I was going to pop in," the chap said, detaining me, "to introduce you to my..."